For those of you who haven't been on a session before, my name's Lisa Brennan and I'm the Managing Director at Strategic Ambitions, of which Graduate Ambitions is part of. And these sessions have really been born out of the number of questions that we were getting from graduates about how to approach their job search, how to brand themselves, how to come across at interviews, and really what were employers expecting of them. And so for my background over the last 15 years working in graduate recruitment and development, I really feel I've got a great support network here to help answer some of those questions. But I thought it was so important for you to hear from other guests who are involved in supporting graduates and other people at different stages of their career in how they can sell themselves and come across as, you know, you are the right candidate for this job. How do you sell yourself as that? So we've got both Jess Flack and Erik Eklund here tonight joining me on the panel for getting some amazing advice and insights. So I will allow them to introduce themselves. I will pass you on to Jess first. You can hear a bit from her and then we'll pass over to Erik before we get started.
Thanks very much, Lisa. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be at this event this evening. Thank you very much, Lisa, for inviting me along. And it's great to be here with one of my other favourite people in the world, Erik, who I met on LinkedIn a little while ago. He's done wonders for me. So please do listen to his advice when he talks to you about, how best to present yourself, especially in terms of storytelling and connecting with humans, which is absolutely the thing that's going to be key to help you in your graduate career coming up. My experience is quite varied, but generally has a thread of employability. So I've been working in higher education for over 10 years, teaching employability, how to get jobs, how to sort of access the resources that you need to get where you want to be. But I've also worked in graduate recruitment as well. And most recently, I've been a freelance graduate recruitment assessor for SRS, who run mock assessment centres for quite a few universities. Really enjoyed that. Everything was done online, which is quite interesting to see how things sort of happen online now. So I'm looking forward to your questions and hopefully being able to sort of give you some insights and take the fear factor away from this whole crazy situation that is life in lockdown and trying to find a job.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jess. Erik, if you can introduce yourself, that'd be great.
I mean, don't you see how I'm blushing over here? I'm just like, hey. For everybody, thank you, Jess, for those kind words. Lisa, thank you for inviting me. For all of you who are sitting there in your homes, I see that there's Andy's, Hannah's, Max's, and Johan's. I see a bunch of people. Please introduce yourselves. Please say hi. I would love to know who you are, and I know that the ladies next to me also would love to do that. Personally, I am specializing myself in the human connection and realm of who am I and why on earth am I here? And that's originating from, since you can tell from my blue eyes and absolutely blonde hair, that I'm Swedish. And it is very true. It's just that I am adopted from Colombia, raised in Sweden. And then I didn't feel that I really fit in somehow in Sweden. So I went to warmer countries, traveled the world, and I've been working in different positions around the world in hospitality, entertainment, retail, now startups as well. I've been a dancer, I have been a retail manager, and now an entrepreneur. And everything has led me to this mission on encouraging you to do what you believe in, so that we can all live that life to be proud of, come together, and as the world is coming to us right now, create this world where we feel that we belong and can enjoy our lives. So, as I say, the quality of our lives is direct reflection of the quality of the questions that we ask. If you don't ask, well, good luck. So go ahead.
Yep. That is definitely very true. If you don't ask, you're not going to ever know the answer. So I think it's really important, as Erik said, to get all your questions out, and this is a perfect opportunity to do that. And so without further ado, we will kick off, and we have got a question from Jonathan, and I have been looking at all the attendees and I don't see that Jonathan has joined us yet. Jonathan Evans, if you are there and perhaps you've logged on as someone else, then also raise your hand, but if not, we will kick off and you'll be able to hear this on the recording a bit later. So yeah, Jonathan's question is actually in relation, so the context around about this is that he is a graduate engineer and he feels that that's quite a narrow job market at the moment. And so one of the things he wants to know about is, obviously he's just finished education, but he's wondering if when he goes to interviews or selection processes, if that's a good time to seek further education, you know, to assist with his job applications. So two aspects to it. One, can he use this as a way to demonstrate he's interested in further professional development when he's interviewing with companies? Can he ask about that? Or two, would this be a better opportunity to perhaps start a further qualification at the moment rather than looking for a job? So perhaps a master's degree, etc. So it'd be great to get your opinion on those two different aspects.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah.
So I've just seen there's a little message from a lovely student from Hertfordshire, Panache. What a cool name that is. Hopefully I'm sort of, saying it correctly with a bit of panache. Fantastic. Sort of similar question around this STEM area. What I would say is from the research, so my background has been working with STEM students in engineering and tech, is that every single market is crazy right now. There is a huge demand for roles and way too much supply. So you will find that there will be less roles and much more competition. That is just a general fact. What I would say is that candidates that stand out for me are the ones that continue to learning. Now, LinkedIn Learning has a great little hashtag that you can follow if you're on LinkedIn, and it's called Always Be Learning, because they want to promote that sort of constant learn new stuff. I've just secured myself a new role, hopefully starting in February, and I'm actually I'm teaching myself MS Project to make sure that I'm upskilled when I start my job. And that is the sort of thing that employers really want to see, because it can help differentiate you between somebody else that's done absolutely nothing during lockdown, just watch Netflix and that sort of stuff. So there is that opportunity to spend that time really developing yourself professionally. It gives you extra things to talk about at interview as well, and shows how keen you are. Because if you're somebody that comes into the organization that is just going to sit there and do the job, that's not what they want. They want somebody that can contribute on a much wider level and have a real understanding of how the whole business works. So I think Lisa talked to me a while back about becoming this generalist. So somebody that can actually go in and do lots of different things and muck in where they need to. So if you're somebody that's sort of focusing on your own professional development, then you're more likely to be able to be that kind of person. Going back towards the engineering side of things, yes, the market is tough, but there are opportunities out there. I had a quick look before I came on the call, and there are sort of opportunities that you can apply for. But again, there will be lots of other candidates there that are really looking to sort of secure that role as well. So it's going to be about differentiation, not necessarily about doing an extra qualification, because that can be very expensive. Always, always, always check the job description. Does it require a master's? If not, look at other things that you can train yourself up in that time. Maybe some emotional intelligence, your communication skills, things like that, much more transferable skills that the employer wants you to have. And you can talk about readily then at your interview.
Very good. Erik, have you got something to add?
I would just like to emphasize on the part of right now, adaptability is probably one of the most sought after skills out there. And Jess just mentioned that. So I have several people around me, and I hear it on a daily basis. People are going to go for masters, they're going to go for another BBA, etc., etc., etc. Not to talk about, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to ask you, is that really going to forward you towards what you want? Do you have any clue about what you really want, or just taking a master because everybody else is taking a master? Are you taking a master because seriously, the times right now are tough? Yeah, but it's tough for everybody. So let's be adaptable, rather look inwards and look at yourself and say, you know what? This is the moment of our time, all of us that are alive at least, where we can reinvent, we can create, and we can take paths that we had no opportunity to take about just a year and a half ago. So with that said, I just want to emphasize on what Jess said. Adaptability, think a little bit more on yourself rather than just going down the route of another master.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely that whole aspect of using something to enhance your employability, I think, is so, so important. And even taking the opportunity to volunteer, you know, and get some experience that can help, you know, with other transferable skills. And in some volunteering opportunities, you get the opportunity to actually use the skills and the knowledge and understanding that you've developed through your studies as well. So there are different ways there that you can enhance your employability without having to just think my next step is to go back to studying. So yeah, and all of that will help to demonstrate your interest in your own personal development. So I think some great thoughts there. We're going to move on to Moyosor. Moyosor, are you able to ask your own question just now? See you there. Okay. So Moyosor's really interested in understanding how to prepare for online assessments for companies, as well as perhaps how to get across the more science and technical CV review format. So I suppose two aspects to that. One is, you know, when it's one thing to put your soft skills across, obviously, on your CV, but how do you also make sure that your technical skills are also part of your story? And how do you set that apart from other people who have got those skills? And then also, you know, the online assessment piece, but we can come back to that in a minute. I think we'll start with the science technical aspect of your story. I know that, Jess, you've obviously been involved in the further education side, and you've probably given advice on this before.
A little bit. Oh, Moyosor has just sort of said, hi, Lisa, in the message.
Ah.
So I don't know whether they want to then, well, you've asked it anyway, so I'll say hi, Moyosor, and sort of try to answer that first part of the question. Really good questions. And what I would say is, you know, with either thing, transferable or technical skills, the employer doesn't want a list. They don't want just a basic list. And I used to explain this to students, you know, imagine you've done something, well, hopefully this never happens to you, but you've done something very naughty. You have to go to a court of law. You would never stand in front of a judge when the judge says to you, okay, defend yourself, and just say, I didn't do it, because that wouldn't work, right? They want evidence. So you have to be able to give evidence. So whatever you've done, give details of how you've actually utilized those skills to do something with it. So if, for example, you've got a heavy technical CV, and Panasha said that, you know, they're working with AI, what is it that you can do with that? What has been your experience with that? How have you actually been able to demonstrate your skills and abilities in those areas? And that really helps somebody who's looking at your CV to make those very quick decisions. Now, I think on some of your other sessions, Lisa, you covered the fact that when you are looking at assessing people's CVs, if you're not using a particular piece of software, which lots of organizations do now just to sift out CVs, then you have a judgment process which can last around 30 seconds. So if you think about it like that, you really need to be able to come across with that information very quickly and draw the eye of your assessor who's looking at your CV to that information quickly. So I would say give evidence. And there are sort of different types of ways that you can do that, but the best way is to kind of think about, imagine you're going to answer that question in an interview. So I'm going along to an interview, and the interviewer says to me, okay, so tell me about a time when you've demonstrated your technical ability in AI. What would you say to that? And then you can take that experience, pop that into a sort of a more bullet point format in your CV, and you've got it there and it's ready to go. So maybe try that.
Very good. Erik?
I would love to, if it's Moiso, right? If Moiso would have the ability to come on and kind of give a bit of more context, perhaps a big example here would be amazing. Since I believe Jess has answered it already, and I would be able to add more to it if it comes more on so I can understand the context behind that question.
Moiso, are you able to give the context, or are you happy with what you've heard so far? You can write in the comments box if you prefer. Okay. Well, I think the second part of Moiso's question was around about the online assessments and how to prepare for them. And actually, I was speaking with another student earlier on this afternoon in a CV review, and this was their question as well. What I spoke to her about was just really making sure, one, that you do the practice tests, and I know that might seem a bit simple that you would do that, but practice as much as you can. Generally, these tests are, not just checking how many questions that you get right, but how many questions you get right in the time that's allocated to you. So there is that additional pressure. And the difficulty is you don't actually know what the cut-off point is, for what employers are looking for. But generally, the devil is in the detail of the question or scenario that they have given you. So it's been very clear about what information is available to you to then select your response, and making sure that you don't make any assumptions based on if you have this information, then typically this would be right also. But if it doesn't tell you that, you cannot base your response on that. So it's about taking the time to just make sure that you are focusing on the facts that you have available to you, and really kind of taking that and applying it to the responses that are also available, because generally they're multiple choice. So it's picking the one that's closest to that. And where you don't have the information to make that decision, don't be afraid to say, we don't have that information. So it seems quite often that these are trick questions, but it's really to assess your level of detail and attention to that detail, and that you can pick out the facts from that. I don't know if Jess or Erik, if you've got anything you want to add to that.
I think you've sort of pretty much hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely about practice. It's about practice for a couple of reasons, but the first one is really because it's scary if you've never done it before. And if you throw yourself into a situation where you've never practiced it, you're going to fail. And, having the opportunity to get some feedback so that you can sort of work out what are the bits that I need to, be better on, that's the best way. I love the saying, knowledge is power. And I think it came from Peter Parker or something like that in Spider-Man. I don't know, but yeah, I love that saying, because it just basically tells you that the more you know about something, the less frightening it will be. So practice, definitely. There are some great websites where you can do things like that. I think, is it SHL, Savile and Holdsworth? Yeah. So they're one of the main makers of psychometric tests, and they're a great place to test yourself on various different types of psychometrics. So yeah, I definitely do that.
Good. So Fantastic. I think we're going to go to some questions from the chat, and we have a question from Narmeen. Narmeen, are you wanting to raise your hand, ask your question? I'm conscious it might take people a bit of time to find the different the different functions on here because it's new. All the functions are on the right hand side of your screen if you get to them. But Narmeen's question is in relation to applying for jobs or vacation schemes, that the focus from employers tends to be on experience, and we do see this a lot, that, you know, if it's not a graduate program, that there tends to be this, you know, have you got 1 to 2 years experience, or even beyond that sometimes for entry level roles. And Narmeen's saying that it's just obviously really quite hard to gain that experience, and not just because of the pandemic, but due to the fact that trying to get experience needs experience. So what other ways could you offer advice on gaining that experience for different sectors? So, for example, she has law there as her as a sector that she's looking for getting a job role in. So I don't know who would like to go first with that. I don't know, Erik, do you want to give some thoughts on?
Sure. The first thing I would possibly add to this is I believe I've been in similar situations a lot where people and job descriptions have been asking me for written specific areas of experience. Here, I would like to give as an advice to everybody out there to try to look beyond, as in law. Okay, law is a lot just by saying a law, right? But law for what? What experience do you have? Even like you can be the felon, like if you can be on that side of the law if you want to, and draw experience from there. You can have experience from situations where you had to think about it, from having family situations, scenarios, whatsoever. And I don't know exactly what law that you are referring to in this case, Namin. But in general, I would love to say, if you don't have that experience that the law firms might be saying they're looking for, just such thing as in join, like coming a little bit from the startup industry. I remember how in Berlin, we had so many beginning law students or law practitioners who joined us to help us with our law, like coming up with, it could be the basics, the basic written policies, but coming in there and seeing that from that point of view that you have it, and then later being able to tell, say, future employers, etc., that, you know what, I was helping out with startups set up their different structures from a side of law. I was doing that. And I had to learn so much about X, Y, and Z, and maybe nothing is directly related to that law that you will be practicing, but you have showed that you have the intention and that character of doing the job anyway. And you're not coming in empty-handed, like textbook style. No, you're showing clear evidence of that you have done actions that shows that you're bringing experience right now.
Mm. Yeah, really important. Jess, I can see you. You're like,
yeah, I agree with all of that. Yeah, Erik's just smashed that one out the park. I know with a lot of law students, when I used to work with BPP, they do this pro bono work. So there are lots of opportunities for you to potentially do some pro bono work, citizens advice, all that sort of stuff, just to get some experience. But exactly what Erik has said, I think the most important thing is that you're out there doing something, and that you understand the transferability and the nature of the transferability of those skills that you are developing in whatever thing that is that you're doing, and that you can talk about that at interview. We all start somewhere. And the graduate level roles that you're going into, they are not looking for a finished article. They're looking for somebody that they can develop into that role. So you're not going for an experienced higher level, which is, somebody who's been in the role for 10 to 15 years. There are expectations that you can grow into the role. You will ask questions. So try not to be so harsh on yourself. I know it's difficult when you see these job descriptions. It can be quite daunting. But if you break it down into manageable steps, you look at the things that you can do, start with that first, start talking about the things that you can do, give that experience, and then focus on the things that you want to work on. It's okay to say that. It's okay to admit in your application, I'm not this finished article, but I'm doing X, Y, Z to get me where you want me to be. That's absolutely fine to do that.
Yeah, completely.
Can I add something there, because I remember I had been on both the obviously looking for a job side, but also been on the hiring side when I was working with Louis Vuitton. And I remember a scenario that kind of relates here. I had one guy coming from Harvard, and I was working in the offices, and he came in and he was really like sharp. He had his things together and he was really putting it all out there. But I remember how my manager and the HR director, we like during the interview and afterwards, we don't feel it. Like literally, we don't feel it. Everything he was referring to was his studies and where he was, Harvard here, Harvard there. And then after him, we had a 21-year-old just out of university. She had zero experience, but she had 100% character. She answered yes. She answered no on our questions. She came with ideas. She gave us like thoughts and opinions on what we were talking about. Afterwards, we were sitting like this, like, is that a 21-year-old with no experience? Guess who we hired?
Yeah.
It's
a no-brainer.
That's it. That's being that memorable candidate. And hopefully everyone who's just kind of sat and listened to the story that Erik's told and how he's told that will help you to sort of understand that those types of techniques are really important. And I think Lisa was sort of chatting to us earlier when we were in the backstage area, kind of saying that a lot of you guys are really worried about this kind of, I've got a story, I need to tell it. But I think the thing that really kind of makes people worry is the word interview, because it automatically means somebody's judging me and there's an outcome. And if I don't get it, then I'm a bad person and I'm not very good at what I want to be or do. But you have to remember right now that, the market is very difficult. And you will have to overcome, rejection. And actually, employers will want to see somebody who's faced rejection because it helps with your ability to show your resilience. And a great person that Erik introduced me to fairly recently talks all about the fact that you can't be resilient if you've never experienced an issue or rejection. So take these things on board. Feel free to be able to talk about them. So it made me feel bad, but this is what I did after that. And this is how I got to the position I'm at now. And every single one of you will have something that you can talk about that individualizes you and makes you that standout candidate. Obviously, Erik's had years of talking to people and sort of developing his flamboyant, wonderful style. We can't all be as amazing as Erik, but you will have that story that you can tell. It's about thinking about how to do that.
Yeah. And I do think that even being able to include some of that in part of your CV also helps to bring you to life from the paper, so it is thinking about all aspects of your life, because your experience, whilst having that, in your case, law experience would be so advantageous. There is other experience where you can demonstrate some of the qualities that are required for that role, some of the skills. You could demonstrate the values that company is looking for. So when you are talking about your experiences, whether that's on committees, whether that is, doing some pro bono work, volunteer work, whatever that might be, highlight on that what skills that you have developed through doing that, or highlight where you might have applied a particular skill. If you're talking about that you have, completed a project on a particular aspect of your studies, how have you then applied that? If you have taught yourself how to play music, what does that demonstrate about you if you've learned how to play a musical instrument? Because some of that, your commitment, your tenacity on learning some of the skills that you have so far really proves again that you have got more to you and there's more context to you rather than just a list of skills, or this is a list of the committees I was part of. So it's really about how do you try to bring that to life for the reader of your CV that makes them want to know more, so that then you can go through to the interview stages. And we have great examples that have been mentioned here this evening, and I'm sure you've heard examples from your own connections of people who actually don't have that much experience, but you're always really surprised, how did they get that job? They don't have as much experience as I do in this, but it's how they tell their story, and it's how they bring together everything from across their life and how they've put that across that makes them a standout candidate. And you can also do that. You have that gift within you to do that. So I think it's really important to think holistically about everything that you can bring to the table and not worry too much about the experience that is so difficult to get. I hope that helps.
That helped me as well. So
you're welcome. I want to reach out to Joanne, who's on the line. Joanne, are you able to come on and we can pass the mic to you? Yeah, that's fine.
Hi there, you're right.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hi. So yeah, I'm a graduate aerospace engineer, and I've been looking for jobs for coming up to.
Oh, I've kind of lost you.
So yeah, we've lost you a little bit. You might find it easier if you've got issues. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, we lost you there for a sec. Or you can turn your camera off.
Turn your camera off and leave your voice on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might work better.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so I don't really have much relevant experience with engineering, and I was wondering what's the best way to kind of sell myself despite this lack of experience, because it seems to be something that's quite important with especially STEM, even for the graduate schemes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really good question. Yes, it's a really, really good question. And it's that age-old thing of the chicken and the egg. You can't get the experience unless you actually do it, and you can't do it without getting the experience. So there's sort of a couple of things, and we've mentioned previously as well that especially when you're going into areas where that there might be quite a sort of technical element to it and things like that, there is a focus on the transferability of the skills that you've got currently. So obviously with aerospace, there'll be maths in there. I'm sort of trying to remember what I did at City. So there should be some maths. There'll be lots of other sort of technical design things. I mean, I'm not sure your sort of focus on that sort of side of things. But certainly our aerospace and our aeronautical students, there wasn't really a lot of opportunity for them whilst at university to be doing internships. So that kind of says to me, you're all in the same boat. So that's a good thing, because it means that there are other ways that you can now differentiate yourself. So think about the transferability of the skills that you currently have and what you can do with that. A lot of students have been asking sort of similar questions around, well, maybe I want to change my field, or, that sort of thing. And I've sort of mentioned that there are some really great virtual internships out there at the minute. So if you can't get the experience one-on-one, which is very, very difficult, especially in the engineering areas at the minute because of, all the COVID secure things that you would need and stuff like that, then the virtual internships are pretty good opportunities at the minute. So there's one really, really good one that comes to mind, and that's Inside Sherpa, which is now Forage. They're completely free, so you just sign up, have a go at some of those, you get certification at the end, and it's just really a good way to give you an insight into what employers want, what they expect from you, the type of work that you might do, but also to sort of give you that boost that you might need, both in terms of your confidence and your presence when you're kind of, talking about some of the experience that you have. But again, try to remember that, they're not looking for the finished article. They know it's very difficult out there. They'll be very aware of the situation, especially around COVID. So you're pretty much in the same boat as quite a few other students. Hopefully that's helped.
Yeah.
So, Johan, you're still with us, right?
Yeah.
He's still with us.
Yes, still here.
Awesome. Okay, so just gonna be a little playback there, because yes, amazing pointers there, and I would just like to understand you a little bit, Johan, because you said can you tell me again, what is your actual question?
So just how best to kind of market a lack of experience. Is it something that you just completely avoid, or do you say, is it something that you kind of lean into but avoid highlighting? It's quite difficult to explain. Do you just brush over it in interviews, or
what is it you're trying to achieve?
What achieve with what? Sorry,
I don't know. What is it you're trying to achieve? What is it you want now?
Oh, a graduate scheme job would be the goal.
Okay. And are you experiencing that it is tough for you to get that because you're lacking experience?
Yeah, it's almost like quite a lot of the questions that they ask either during the application or in the interviews, almost that they lean towards a kind of your previous experiences and applying your previous experiences to answer the question. And
okay,
I'm just wondering, how do you get around these kind of questions without actually, without having the experience that they're clearly looking for?
Mm.
So it sounds like in this word, I'm going to be kind of straight with you right now, Johan. No one has talked about that you have lack of experiences. It's just that you are seeing that they're talking and hearing they're talking about experiences, and then you feel that you don't have them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. In that case, to answer your question, no one has said that you lack experiences, so why are you focusing on them? Focus on your strengths. They're asking you, what can you drive from your previous experiences to apply to this role, right? Or something similar. So answer the question. What can you take from your previous experiences, whatever they might be, right? Show them some creativity right here. Stand up with your chest high. What can you take from your previous experiences? I'm speaking for myself. I've been a dancer, and I still got other jobs in the future. It sounded quite boring, like back in the day for me. But I have been in technical roles too. It's just that for you right now, I think it sounds more like focus on your strengths, tap into your creativity, and show them what you got. It is not about trying to answer how to not show them what you don't have. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I think
Honestly, I'm going to make a recruiter out of you, Erik. Just being able to get to the bottom of that, and I think that's probably a lot of students who are in this group now are focusing on the negative, and I can't do this, I can't do that. They're asking for this, but actually, exactly that. It's about focusing on the things that you can do and the transferability of that. But it's very difficult. We can say that we can do this, and we can say, go away and do it. But it's about sort of really sitting down and thinking, how do I present that information to an employer in a way that they will get, that's, that makes you memorable, etc. and so on. It is difficult, but yeah, totally smash that, Erik. Thank you.
completely. And I think it's so important, you know, for Johan and everyone else on the call, that it's very, very natural to make those assumptions, you know, about what other people think about us, you know, that we don't have enough experience or the right experience, or you might not be the right fit, or you might not be the best candidate. But again, that's you're not dealing with fact. The fact is that you do have experience, and it comes from all different aspects of your life that you've got to this point so far, whether it's your studies, whether it's your volunteering, whether it's, you know, caring responsibilities. So whatever that is, you do have experience that you can draw upon, and you will easily be able to answer questions that require a competency-based example. You know, so it's just thinking a bit differently about it, and it not just being engineering experience or specific aerospace related experience for you, Johan, you know, or similar if it's law or business, you know. So whatever it is, the field that you're in, it's about stopping yourself and realizing you're making those assumptions, because that really impacts on your confidence when you go in. And so you want to make sure that you are as confident and sure about how much you know you and the experience you have got that you can bring to the table, because that's what you're selling. That is your strengths that Erik's mentioned and that Jess has mentioned already. So I hope that's been helpful, Johan, for you.
Just gonna quickly add to that. So I had that exact same thing fairly recently. I panicked, saw a job that I really, really wanted, and it asked for a PhD. And I thought, oh, I haven't got a PhD, and I'm pretty much never going to get one. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort. So being honest, so I connected with the hiring manager. I called them and said, look, I want to be honest with you. I really want this job. I can do everything else on the job description, but I don't have a PhD. And he said, wow, okay, well, we'd like you to apply anyway. It's not a showstopper, but just really kind of goes to town on all of the things that you can do and give us some of that experience. And there you go. So ended up going to an interview anyway, regardless of the fact that I didn't have the PhD.
Yeah, there you go. So it's all good. It's about believing that you have got what that company needs. You know, but yeah, talking it through with people and being honest about how you're feeling isn't a bad thing either. You know, we all feel nervous about these situations. I am very conscious of time. I wanted to go to a question from Eugene. So Eugene is wanting to ask what skills are more in demand in 2021, either soft skills or hard skills, and then how do you show your soft skills during an online interview session? So a couple of really great points there that Eugene's brought up, and I know, Erik, you already mentioned earlier that adaptability, you know, was this key skill that employers are really focusing on this year. I don't know if there's others that you would like to mention and how to put them across.
Okay, so adaptability, I said. Communication skills, definitely, if you're living in a very digital and international world. Definitely leaning towards the soft skills, being able to, right now, with everything being virtual, still having that resilience that Jess was talking about earlier. I don't know anybody who would say no to someone who can show a mental resilience in what he or she is doing. And that you can prove by so many things from your past, where you were really having this employment maybe experience where you were striving and kept going and kept going and kept going anyway. You can show that in many different ways. So resilience, communication skills, leaning towards the soft skills, adaptability, we have already said. Is there anyone else I would say right now that is emotional intelligence, your own mindfulness of being mindful of who you are, why you want to do what you want to do. That, if we can package that and then add a little bit more of your technical skills and some of your experiences, I think you have a good Christmas package to give to someone.
Yeah, I like that. All wrapped up with a neat bow.
I was saying yeah, but I was on mute. You're on mute, Jess. Yeah, exactly those things. That emotional intelligence is 100%. I'm seeing much more of that in graduate recruitment assessments right now, especially because it's a digital world, and it's about understanding you, who you are, but also the impact that you can have on other people. It's also a really good indicator of whether you have longevity within an organization as well, because at some point, if you're going up in your career, you're going to end up leading people at some point, or working in a capacity where you have to manage sort of groups of people or interactions with people, and leaders with strong EI. So we're not talking about Donald Trump here. We know that he doesn't have any EI at all. Barack Obama, he's the exact opposite. And I look at how he is with people, how inclusive he is. His body language is fantastic. He tilts his head to show that he's listening to you. There's so many different things. And recruiters are actually spending quite a lot of money on incorporating this into their recruitment processes now to look at EI. But I guess that we would need a bit more context as well to see what type of role that you're planning to go into, because some will focus more on technical skills than others, but generally your transferable skills will be important in any job that you go into. So sort of I would say that both are equally as important, but if you want to have longevity in an organization, your transferable skills are going to be the ones that get you there. You can learn lots of tech skills, right? You can upskill at any point. But the things that sort of make you who you are very individual to you. And if you present that well, that's going to be what gets you the job.
And I think, yes, have you also seen it, but Jess and Lisa, looking around, that I have seen a tremendous shift within leadership and in companies to look for that sustainable teamwork and ability to prove that I am a person with the character. I have an awareness of self and a little bit of what I want to do. We have moved away from this high performance, here we got to give you a pull call to show how great you're performing way of living, to more integrated, sustainable. Well, we learned with COVID that a great salary and a great job title doesn't mean that you are safe.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, sadly. But yeah, exactly that. There's so much going on at the moment. I think there's a huge statistic in the UK. So 53% of employees in the UK are looking to change their job off the back of their experiences of COVID. So now there is a shift away from, I just want any job. There's a more focus on, is that employer what I want? Do they sort of echo my values? So just remember that with a recruitment process, it's a two-way street. It's about them impressing you and also you impressing them. Okay?
Definitely. I think,
yeah.
Sorry.
I am going to counter that one. This is the first time I'm going to counter Jess. I'm going to say, try not to impress, strive to relate to them. Really, strive to relate, not to impress. Impress is one of those cruel seek that we have learned since we were very, very young. And in a way, yeah, that's great. But you know to yourself when you're walking into somebody who's standing there literally like, oh, I have X, I have Y, I have Z, and oh my God, look at me. How well do you feel that you want to learn more about that person and be with that person for 40 plus hours a week, versus the person that you can relate to?
Okay. Yeah, that's wrong of me. I shouldn't have said press. Relate to is much, much better. So just the final thing on that, I'll say that that's if you can make a human connection with an organization through saying something like, I've been a loyal sort of follower of this organization. I can see you can do X, Y, and Z, and it really means this to me. Then that's gonna go far for you.
Those connection points are so important, and that that's why doing your research about the company, the people who are going to be on your interview panel, all of that is really valuable for when you step into any kind of selection process stage. It kind of got that awareness, and you can draw upon that, especially if you can relate that back to, well, this is what you're looking for, and I can bring that to the table, and that does match, because that is also a way of then saying, I don't just relate to you, but I relate to this company, and I could do the job. And I think, the aspect of being able to convey some of this in an online kind of selection process setting, I think that is very, very daunting for anyone that has to go into that situation. But actually, it shouldn't make too much of a difference to how you come across. You just need to still, albeit that this is through a camera, you can still find those connection points and make yourself relatable to the person at the other side. You can still look directly into your camera and, give that eye-to-eye contact. You can make sure that you are speaking clearly so that you're coming across and your voice is doing some of the work for you. So I think a lot of that is in the preparation and making sure that you're set up, you're comfortable. I've actually heard a lot of people saying that they're much happier doing an online process because they're in their own environment and it makes them feel a bit more comfortable. It's less unknown to them, and they can just focus on, what the person is saying to them, rather than being somewhere that's unfamiliar and you're kind of getting your head around that and then you have to deal with what's coming towards you as well. So I think when you're in that situation, Eugene, it's really, the preparation and just being you, I think, is really so important. I am very, very conscious of time because we are kind of over time now for the session, and I also we still have lots of questions that we haven't got to yet. And so one thing we will do is take these questions, we'll post them on LinkedIn, and we'll tag whoever wrote the question on the post, as well as other people who have attended the session, and myself and Jess and Erik will aim to give responses to those questions on LinkedIn. But the other thing is that we do have some time at the end of this for kind of some more informal networking, and that will be done back in the room that you were in when you first joined the call. And there was the tables, so you can pick a table to sit at, you can introduce yourself to the other people on your table, you can ask, we'll be there, so you can come to a table if you've got a specific question for us. You can move table as well, so if you sit down and then you think, I've heard what Jess has got to say, I want to hear what Erik's got to say or Lisa's got to say, you can move around table. But this is also real life, and it's the same as what happens in real life networking. So, some people might have to nip to the loo, some people might want to go and get a drink. Not everyone will be able to stay for networking. So if you can stay, please do. If you can't, that's okay. And as a panel members, we will stay as long as we can. Also might not be able to stay. Not everyone might be able to stay until the end. We kind of have allocated a maximum of kind of 45 minutes for the networking piece. But as I said, people might drop off prior to that. This is, as I said, this is just exactly what happens in real life. So what will happen when I end this session is that you will be able to go back into, it will take you directly into that room, the lounge as it's called, to pick a table. You'll like that word, Erik. And
let's go to the lounge. I could definitely. It's a Wednesday, a little Saturday, Swedish style. So we would have a drink and go to the lounge right now.
There you go. So if for any reason you don't end up back there, you get cut off or whatever, you can just click on the link that you first came in on, and it will bring you straight back there. But I would actually also really love if you have time, either now or as you're in the lounge, to just put in any feedback that you have. You know, what did you think of this platform? Because this is the first time we've used it. You know, was it useful? Did you think, oh my God, I never want to go to another event on that again? Any feedback is good on that. How did you find the session? Is there something you would like to hear from us in the future? You know, so any feedback that you've got for us will be greatly welcomed. You can pop it in either the live chat or the direct chat, you know, to Graduate Ambitions, and we will get all of that, you know, at the end of the session. You'll be able to still access it. So I want to say thank you very much for all of your questions, and also a huge thank you to both Jess and Erik for being on the panel this evening and giving up your time. It has been so great to have you here and get all your advice and insights. Really appreciate that. So I will just click on the end session button. It will take maybe about 10 seconds or so, and it should take you back into the lounge, and I will see you there if you're hanging about.
Okay.
Thank
See you in
you.
the lounge.
Thanks. Bye.